You need to try and pick off the units as... Look at the shields on the mark.
Oh my god, the drone's gonna take him!
Alright, we're here in the final game. Between these two titans, we have seleCT. Over here in the upper left, in the bottom right, we have White Raw. It's the rubber match Artosis. Are you ready?
Tasteless, I have wanted to watch a rubber match between these two for quite some time. What's so funny, Tasteless?
That look you gave me when you did it, Artosis. Look, guys, if you're unfamiliar with us, and I know we've said this in some of the other casts, excuse me, but in case you're unfamiliar with us, maybe you're just a member of the IGN community, and you're interested in hearing more of our commentaries, we're the GSL commentators based in Seoul, Korea. If you ever want to see more of our work, check us out at gomtv.net. Now, on to this game.
That's right. It is Tal'Daram Altar, cross positions, so it's the most wide open map, a very good map for TVP, especially these positions, and one of the biggest maps in the game, so this definitely could go very long. We normally do see long games on this map. Not a lot of games end early.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's these guys, you know, the builds we've seen him do, generally pretty economical. seleCT is an interesting player because he beat White Rod in a straight-up game in game number 1, and then opted in game number 2 to do an all-in.
Yeah, that all-in.
We don't see him do that a lot either.
No, but he knows against White Raw, he has to take some risks. You can't just actually do straight up the same strategy every game against White Raw. This is a man who learns while he goes.
Yeah, he's very reactionary, and he's really ahead of the curve when it comes to the way the game is approached.
He is ahead of the curve.
Also
ahead of the curve.
Yeah, man. Also over the hill, man. This guy's one of our older professional gamers out here.
That's quite true. In fact, he's as old as Boxer, as far as I know.
Yeah, and not really old as far as like actual, how old an adult is. White Raw, I believe, is 31.
Yeah, you might be.
Yeah, I believe that's the
30
case.
Or 31.
Now that's pretty old for a professional gamer.
Yeah.
The average professional gamer age, I think, is about 21, 22.
Yeah, something like that.
In Korea and outside of Korea. Usually around that range. But, White Raw, I think his age has really allowed him to mature as, the ideal type of professional gamer personality.
Oh, he certainly
He doesn't put too much pressure on himself. He trains the right way.
Yeah.
He has a good attitude in each match, and I think that's, very important when you're entering into the pro gaming environment.
Exactly. I mean, this guy is so likable. He is one of the few pro gamers that doesn't really have a team. He just has individual sponsors because he's a sponsorable guy.
Yeah, he is. He's very marketable. Now, seleCT, of course, we've mentioned this in previous games, but seleCT is the Dawn of War World Champion 2 times, so these are 2 serious heavyweights.
Now, both have done really greatly in StarCraft 2 thus far. I want to say White Raw's done a little bit better. But it's close, man. I mean, seleCT has gotten really deep at a lot of MLGs. White Raw has stayed a little bit more in Europe, but I'm going to go with White Raw having a little bit of an edge overall, just a little bit.
Now, note, he didn't spot the 2 barracks being made over there, but he can assume it's going to be 2 barracks when he sees there isn't the gas being taken right away. And what else would 2 SCVs go over there and make at the same time 2 barracks?
And White Raw throws up a Nexus. He realizes, hey, I need to expand. I can't let Terran get too far ahead there. And a Zealot walking up. I like that. A Stalker in pursuit. Don't worry, he's not stalking the Zealot. They're friends. They're on the same team. And they're going to see if they can maybe harass the Marines a bit.
It's not that kind of stalker. I mean, he asked the Zealot, for the phone number a few times, and he said no. And they said, you want to go to a movie? And he said, can I bring a friend? And, the stalker said no. But overall, pretty normal stalker. Now, here we have a little bit of an engagement.
And with the bunker, he's going to have to run away. But I like that push. It's a nice little push. If there's no bunker, maybe he kills a Marine. Maybe he kills 2 Marines. And the stalker can continue to do some micro dancing. But that's the end of that little push. I like it, though. Thumbs up from Artosis.
Well, it makes sense to do a move like that. And I do like here the SCV that was hidden. Basically, seleCT said, well, if you leave your base, you're not going to have anything there to defend it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this SCV, and since you did leave your base, I get to scout you for free, and that gives me a lot of valuable information that I can use against you as I try to incorporate the perfect build to stop you.
Yeah, the difference between him getting that SCV in and not getting in is a whole world.
Yeah.
It's a whole world, Tasteless. I mean, if he doesn't get that in, he might have to scan. He might say, I just don't know what's going on. I have to use a scan.
And he might scan and not see enough and say, I don't know if that's enough information. Maybe I'm missing the robo.
Maybe
I don't see enough
hidden.
gateways. Is there another expansion? He might have to scan, one or two more times after that.
Mm-hmm. But with that SCV, he gained all information that he needs. He's going up, tech into his factor. I would not be surprised if he goes straight to Starport. Select not a Siege Tank Terran in this matchup.
No.
Much more a Medevac Terran.
And that's totally fine. I understand that style. It's quite good. Here we see White Rod doing one of the things he does best, is just controlling the map early on. He's not going to let this SCV, another hidden SCV, get away with anything over here. And, White Rod is one of these Protosses, as we've seen in many of his games recently, that he likes to take a third base pretty quickly if he's far away like this.
Yeah, and, he gets away with it sometimes. Sometimes he has to cancel, sometimes he loses it. But he has figured out the ins and outs, the different branches of this style. Now, a very aggressive Terran, maybe a slightly more Korean-style Terran, will probably force a cancel on that Nexus more times than not. But White Rod, in this current metagame of the European/North American players, this really works out well for him.
Yeah, that's very true. The North Americans, in this case, Select, kind of coming from that server, although he is from Korean descent, so does have some experience playing with Koreans as well. In the European server and the Korean server, and even the Southeast Asian server and other servers, they all have a little bit of a different way of approaching the game, and that's why when we get big international events like the IPL, it's interesting to see those different play styles kind of bump into each other.
Yeah, that's definitely quite true. Now, he is throwing out some medevacs, getting that +1 marine attack, and we're going to have to see Select, will his drops, will they do something? A lot of times his games are decided by that. Will his drops, he gets some momentum going, where he's dropping, killing a little bit, running away, killing a little bit somewhere else, and gets Protoss off on his back foot, a little bit defensive, a little bit running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Will Select get that going? That's going to be what's really important in the next few minutes.
So, as you can see, the Zealot actually is not going to get away. Run! Oh, no!
Yeah, that Marauder's slowing him down, Tasteless. Like all my nightmares.
Yep, I have nightmares where I'm being chased by a Marauder, and I just can't get away, Artosis.
Just keep slowing you down, man. Concussive shells. Alright, 82 supply for Select, 104 for White Raw. How does that happen? White Rod just jumping up in supply. Beautiful macro by him.
He's one of the better macro Protosses I've ever seen play. And he's good at doing it while doing a bunch of small things on the map at once, like getting rid of scouting workers and stuff like that. Now here he comes. This pylon will tip off White Raw's army.
And there he is. A nice couple force
kills.
kills.
Could have been a little bit better, but he did get a few units there.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it's not 100% perfect, but killing a few units off while you have that third base. Select doesn't have his third base. His third command center is halfway done, sure, but he's behind economically. White Raw's doing a great job, and killing off even a few units and denying that from doing anything greatly reduces the strength of this next drop.
And the drop is now moving in here. It's going to be tough for him to really get in there and do that much more damage at this point in time, because White Raw has already been tipped off to the drop, and it doesn't look like there's more medevac dropships on the way out here.
Well, it looks like scanning to see where those units are, warping in some Zealots in the back, and going back to the third base. Where are White Raw's units? He has to run away, losing a couple probes so far. Man up losing a pylon or a gas. Looks like Select going to go for that pylon, realizing he can't quite kill the Nexus. And, that's a nice little harassment there, even though I think White Raw is still pretty far ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he made the workers move, which is great. I think ideally what you want to do is actually kill a little bit more than that, but, it's whatever it takes. Here's the problem, I think, for Select, is, and we're getting a shot of it now, he's only just now expanding Artosis. These guys are on opposite sides of the map. You want to try to expand when you're doing these drops.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Was late.
You can even build that over there at the expansion. I mean, there is some risk, but White Raw got that expansion up so fast. You want to do the same. You want to keep up.
Yeah, and White Raw, I mean, he's just piling up the lead. He's up 22 supply right now, 144 to 124 now. He's getting all sorts of tech, as we see, building a lot of gateways, throwing up some cannons, getting charge, getting his 1-1. He has double forge going. Everything is working out really well for Whiterod. Now, seleCT, it's not like he's really far behind or something. It's just his expansion is late. He's going to have to take another base quickly. If you're playing Marine Marauder style, you need to actually stay a base up on Protoss.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, right now it's not looking like it, Artosis. Whiterod is expanding again. This is the part of the game where, you know, on this map especially, taking your 4th base and 5th base become a little bit trickier. They're not close to your home.
Yeah.
And, you know, it can be a little bit scary for both sides. You know, Whiterod is the Warp Prism Master. And, you know, obviously
seleCT making.
Yep. Oh, there you go. And then, of course, seleCT is, you know, incredibly good with medevacs. So this is the part of the game where it really starts to get complicated for both sides.
Yeah, and the fact that he got a Dark Shrine, I love that, by the way, on this map. This huge, huge map. DTs can really play a pivotal role in the late game against Terran.
Yeah.
Just keeping them scanning, not using their mules, you know, harassing them.
We didn't see DTs as much in the late game of StarCraft 1 because Spider Mines were in play.
Yeah.
So there was a period of time where it's like, well, DTs no longer serve the same purpose. But in StarCraft 2, we don't have Spider Mines. And that changes everything, Artosis.
Absolutely does. Well, you see the Warp Prism flying through here. We're going to have to see what he wants to do that. Probably going to do some DT shenanigans as that Dark Shrine is finishing up. And Whiterod just has to be feeling perfect here. He's almost maxed out. He's got enough money to basically max out at this point. He's starting to choose very carefully what he makes. Warping in 4 DTs right now. Getting his 2-2. Getting cannons up to defend against these drops that seleCT's trying to do. And he looks safe everywhere. He's got good map presence with his Observer, as you see. And seleCT, he has to get something going. He can't just mass up on 3 base and try to kill Whiterod. It's not going to work like that.
As you can see, Whiterod is expanding again. And it looks like here comes the harassment here from Whiterod. 2 DTs coming in here. We have a Warp Prism on the left, but it looks like he should be able to scan, but where are the units?
And, well, he's killing off a good amount of SCVs so far.
And, takes out the DTs, takes out the Warp Prism.
Yeah, that was not as effective as Whiterod had hoped, but that's okay, because he is in the mining advantage. He's going to have that, well, he already has that 4th base going. And just everything is looking peachy for him. In the meantime, 3 ghosts on the way, more upgrades for seleCT, and look at that timing, Tasteless.
Yeah, very nice. He knows this is basically the most likely location for seleCT to expand to. And as you see, that's where the command center was moving to. So, you know, sending DTs there, especially 1 by 1, is going to be so effective.
Yeah, I love to put DTs all over the place on this map, just kind of have them patrol. Terran does not like to make a Raven in this matchup, even though they have the gas, they do not like to fly around with the Raven as well. Probably something that's going to have to come into play more in the future, though, because, I mean, look how powerful this is so far, having to use all these scans and everything.
And we should see the command center land here soon. But another DT over here. Now, these are each scan is a mule that was never to be.
It's also a scan for looking for the army that would never be.
Exactly.
A scan looking for tech or expansions that would never be.
So here comes another DT. And look, this is actually brilliant here by Whiterod. Whiterod is already up 2 extra bases. I don't really count this as a base yet. It's not operating. And guess what? You know, there's nothing that the Terran can do other than try to sit here and wait for the turrets to finish and not have any presence on the map.
Well, more and more scans going down. Whiterod sending some probes over to this base. And Whiterod is starting to mine a lot of gas. This guy is more gas heavy than a lot of Protosses are in the late game of this matchup. A lot of times Protosses rely a little bit more on Zealots, but really Whiterod efficiently using all of his resources.
Yeah, he really is. Now here he comes, moving out. This may be the first big engagement we have.
It may be indeed. He has those ghosts. This is going to be very critical. We see a lot of Colossi. Charge nice EMPs all over those Zealots, but some nice EMPs back there as well. And these Vikings going to make mincemeat out of all of the Colossus. The Stalkers on the side actually not targeting them. That's definitely something you want to do. The Archons tanking amazing amounts of damage. But it looks like, well, seleCT might barely win this, but landing those Vikings...
This is a big mistake. Don't land the Vikings. They're way too valuable to just drop in the middle of a battle. He took out all the Colossi, and, you know, from there, all he has to do is keep the Vikings alive, keep making them, and guess what? Colossi are not an option in the matchup anymore.
Yeah, instead, he loses control of them. Now he has to remake them against a Colossi that exactly the case. I mean, you just don't want to do that. A lot of DTs being worked in and takes them all out. Realistically, only a couple of those should have been DTs. The rest Zealots. DTs very, very expensive.
You only want one DT when you do that.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't want, like,
well, maybe
4 or
one in
5.
the back, one with the Zealots to attack it first. When the scan runs out, send the next. But just using all DTs like that, if he has no scans, you look like a genius. Otherwise, you look like a fool.
Like a nubby nub nub man in a tub, Artosis. But you know, here's another factor: is that like I want to go back to those Vikings for a second. Those Vikings were so weak. Oh my God! Look at the supply difference too. White Raw really behind here by 100. He could.
It's 4K though.
You could have sent those Vikings towards the Protoss's main and just killed a Colossus that comes out. He has to warp and stuff over there. Meanwhile, you keep streaming Marines and Marauders.
That's a super good point.
Yeah.
You, sir, are like a conehead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In the sense that I have a big brain.
And a huge point.
Yeah. Ooh, wow.
Yeah. It was deeper than you thought.
It was very deep. All
right.
So, you know, right now in the lead is our Terran player, a Select, but
White Raw
is going to catch up. He has more bases.
A lot of money banked.
The
as
Terran
well.
has been somewhat impotent when it comes to actually damaging probes. You know, or actually destroying expansions or causing them to relocate.
But he does have 3-3, so that makes a pretty big difference. White Raw is at 3-3 as well, starting his Plasma Shield upgrades. And that's very important for both players, really. And more scans being used still. You know, again, the Raven might be something that's like wants to invest in. These DTs are actually being unbelievably annoying.
And there's not the same threat of Colossus here anymore, since that count has been restarted. The Nexus is cancelled just in time.
But still has that Nexus going up right there.
I can't believe he didn't check there. That's so funny.
You know, it's smart to just send a Marine in.
Yeah, Stim 1, send him over there, you know, for sure. This DT scanned, but again, scan. Could have been a mule.
Could have been.
Just saying.
Oh, look at that. A lot of Zealots now reinforcing for White Raw. He's up at 196 supply. And a lot of Vikings are being made. Look at that. A lot of Vikings, but only one Colossus out for White Raw. So this very Zealot-heavy army should be able to carve through. Oh, there's 2 more. As I say that there's only one Colossus, 2 more. Join them on the screen. But with this many Zealots against a very Viking-heavy army, it could be amazing.
Beautiful! EMP, beautiful!
And we have the Zealots just charging, and they're going to do a ton of damage. The Stalker's blinking up. Looks like they are going to target down some this time.
If there were more Vikings this time around, the Colossus wouldn't do the same kind of damage it's doing right now.
If he had saved all those Viking Fortes, those Colossus would have died in 2 seconds. Well, it looks like Select may have to pick up and try to get out of here. There's only a few Stalkers left, so should be able to get away. And yes,
nice save. Very nice save.
Very close in supplies now. 145 to 150. White Raw on the lead. 3.5k banked for him, 2k for Select, and both players on similar amounts of bases, but White Raw is, of course, in the lead. He has that bottom left up, and he has that 6 o'clock up as well.
Okay, the command center is almost done here, but it's denied just before it could finish. Here by the DT. This is getting pretty bad, Artosis. I think Select had a big lead, but you know he didn't utilize it.
Yeah, you have to take the map.
Yeah,
you have to do it.
Yeah, you can make planetaries in the middle of the map. You can mass expand. You can go back after that big battle to dropping again all over the map.
Very true.
I think Select wasn't able to change gears quick enough here. Here we see him sending SCVs. That's either a mistake or he's trying to free up supply.
Yeah.
I take it's a mistake now that he moved out. I don't know.
Kind of interesting choices by him. And we see just kind of little skirmishes in the middle of the map. White Raw is max. Select stuck down about 175. He is making a lot of units still. A lot of ghosts in there as well. But look at this very Zealot-heavy army. Oh, he's going to go for this planetary. You have to be careful engaging this with Zealots, but gets the surround before SCVs repair. And that's all she wrote for that, man. If you're not repairing one of those, it does die. And here we go. The SCVs now being utilized to take shots from those cannons and deal a little extra damage. Select finally trying to take down a base.
Yeah, but I think it's just a little bit too late now. And I think from here it's pretty easy for White Raw. Not only does he have a lot of money, he has a little bit over 2k, but you know he has a lot of bases. You know, he can just go to the main location, the Terran's base, the upper left side of the map. He can take out everything there, and I mean, what is Select going to do? He's going to have to come back home and defend, or try to go into some base trade scenario, which is never going to succeed for him because his army just isn't big enough.
Yeah, his army pretty small at this point. The Vikings doing some damage to those Colossi. They're also got to be a little bit careful of that. Does end up losing one. And the Ghosts come in with their cloak, doing some nice EMPs and some nice Stutter Step Micro as well, but this is a lot of units out there. The Archon's going to take out some of these medevacs, which are so important for the long-term integrity of those units. And even more units just coming up from White Rise, being a little bit sloppy, but he has enough bases that he doesn't care. Select really barely even minding at this point. 12 SCVs against 70 probes.
Jeez, man. We'll talk about an impressive play here. The Zealot's now streaming up here, and that should basically do it. I mean, you can see Select is barely hanging on. Well, as I say that, these Zealots clean up the rest, but there's just no way to stop White Rot to continue to grow, spread like a disease across this map. And here is the final blow. A little showy here, just making a bunch of Dark Templars. Hey, he has the money. Might as well show off a little bit. Not like Terran has enough orbital scans to ever spot all that stuff. And that should basically do it, Ortosis.
Yeah, man. Looks like White Raw is going to take down Select 2-1. GG. And make sure you guys check out the rest of our cast in the IGN Pro League, as well as thehandsomernerd.com, the best StarCraft 2 t-shirts you've ever seen.